This is the spinal cord model. I consider this the easiest and most approachable model on the final of A&P1. The reason is because if you look at it, all you got to do is figure out, is it a column, is it a horn, and then you have three other structures to memorize. Let's start with those other structures first, because those other structures are the most important ones. The most important one is that bulge right there at the back. That bulge on the back is called the dorsal root ganglia. And if you think about the name dorsal root ganglia, you kind of know now that this is going to be the back of the spinal cord, because the dorsal root ganglia's fibers go into the back or the dorsal side of the spinal cord. So now that you know this is the back, now all you need to do is figure out what's a column, what's a horn. So column are always going to be white. Just like most Greek and Roman columns, they're all going to be white. So all of these are going to be columns. That's dorsal column, lateral column, ventral column, dorsal column, lateral column, ventral column. The other ones are horns, and they're going to be darker in color. Here it kind of looks like a very light blue or almost like an aquamarine type of color. The reason why they're a different color, the white is going to have myelinated fibers that run up and down as tracks. There's going to be cell bodies in the horns, so the cell bodies have less myelin, so they're darker in color. So dorsal horn, lateral horn, ventral horn. And most students make this mistake on the test because if they look at it labeled on a model or in the lecture class or in the lecture for this class, they'll see there's a column over here and the horns labeled over there. There's also a lateral column or lateral horn right there next to the lateral column. So don't get confused. Columns are on both sides, horns are on both sides. And once you get that down, these other two structures aren't too bad. Posterior median sulcus in the back, anterior median fissure in the front. And if you're like, oh, I see a little indentation in there, the fissure is bigger than a sulcus. So let's look at the other model for this. The other model for this is this one. I like this one. It's small, simple, easy. Dorsal root ganglia going into the dorsal side. It's going into the dorsal horn, lateral horn, ventral horn. You still have the horns on this side. You have the dorsal column, lateral column, ventral column, anterior median fissure, posterior median sulcus on the top. And as long as you remember the horns are on both sides and the columns are on both sides, there's nothing really else that can really trip you up on this model.